It's a Top 5 Friday here on Locked On Vols. Top 5 things we want to hear about from the Tennessee football scrimmage later tonight. 5 players that need to show up, and top 5 football traditions as the season gets closer and closer. Going to have a fun one here today. It's your Friday Locked On Vols.
You are Locked On Vols, your daily podcast on the Tennessee Volunteers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you. Friday morning, everybody. Welcome into Locked On Vols, your place for Tennessee Volunteers news and entertainment. Each weekday morning, I'm your host, Eric Kane. We are a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is your team every single day. Big shout out to FanDuel, where you can make every moment more over at FanDuel.com. Big sponsor of the show, so can't thank them enough. Today's show is going to be a top 5 show. So in honor of the football scrimmage coming up later tonight, the first of fall camp, we're going to dive into the top 5 things that we want to hear about, the top 5 hopes, if you will, for the scrimmage coming up later tonight in segment 2, top 5 players that need to show up. We need to hear these players' names in the post-scrimmage press conference, all that and more. Plus, with it being kind of a game-like setting, got me thinking about some of the better football traditions for Tennessee this fall at Neyland Stadium and on campus. We're going to go over my top 5 football traditions here at the University of Tennessee, and I'd love to hear yours as well. All that and more here on a Friday show. You can watch us, listen to us, subscribe to us, download us, all that for free wherever you get your podcasts, and of course, on the Locked On Vols YouTube channel. Hey, I made an Instagram page as well. If you're on Instagram, search locked_on_Vols or my name. It should show up there. I have a Locked On Vols Instagram account where I'm going to be putting reels up periodically from these episodes and from some of the media availabilities, so I hope you guys enjoy that as well. So let's jump down into it. From the onset here, it's kind of a double-edged sword, right? When you do inter-squad scrimmages in fall camp, you want to hear about explosive plays. You want to hear about the offense scoring touchdowns and Nico balling out. If all that happens, it means the defense is struggling at times. So if you're a head coach, man, that's got to drive you nuts if you're Josh Heupel, because you want to be pleased with whoever wins the scrimmage, but also what's the level of concern on the other side of the football? I mean, no scrimmage is perfect from a head coach's perspective. If you're an offensive coordinator and you have a good day, then heck, you're feeling good. If you're a defensive coordinator, you have a good day, you're feeling good. If you're the head coach, it's again, it's a double-edged sword a little bit. So I always find it interesting, hearing Josh Heupel talk after these comments or after these scrimmages, and he'll speak to the media late tonight. I think the scrimmage was set to begin around 7 or 7:30. So he'll speak to the media after the scrimmage tonight and kind of tell us how it goes. And I always find what he's got to say and kind of trying to read his body language to get a real feel of what's going to go on. And of course, we'll have sources. We'll figure out what went on and who stood out and all that and more. I do think it's important to point out, too, that this early in camp, it's not uncommon for the defense to be ahead of the offense, and so I'll be intrigued to see if the defense makes more plays than the offense. So with all that being said, here are the top 5 things that I want to look for and I want to hear from Tennessee football in spring scrimmage number 1. Number 5, red zone offensive success. And maybe that's not something that's going to be coming to fruition here in scrimmage number 1, but it's something that Tennessee was not good with in 2023. In fact, out of 54 trips to the red zone, Tennessee scored 28 touchdowns, 52%. Tennessee scored touchdowns on 52% of red zone trips. That is way down from 2022. That is way down from 2021. Not good. That needs to get better. Tennessee spent 2 periods in Thursday's individuals at practice out on Haslam practice field working on red zone passing. So obviously that's an emphasis, and we need to see if that can transpire into scrimmage number 1 again. Maybe it won't in scrimmage number 1, but we will see number 5, red zone offensive success. Number 4, I want to hear. If I say see, I'm not going to see anything because nobody's going to be allowed in there, media wise. But I want to hear about the offense generating explosive plays. That's something that was limited a little bit last year. That's something that was very much a part of the offense in 2022 and also in 2021. Explosive plays, essentially passing plays that are more than 20 yards, running plays that are more than 13 yards. We want to see some explosive plays. And that is what this offense is kind of, hung its hat on a little bit, is able to get in space, make plays, and go and score touchdowns. I want to see more of that, and I think we will see more of that with this offense in 2024. And to the YouTube commenter that says, I can't talk about Nico without bringing up Joe, that's no slight on Joe, okay? I just think that this offense needs to and will certainly get back to being more explosive. And I'd love to see that here in scrimmage number 1. All right, so number 4, I want to hear about the offense generating explosive plays. Number 3, I want the defense to force some turnovers. And again, talk about the double-edged sword there. If the offense is generating explosive plays, then there's some gaps and busts in the secondary or some missed tackles or whatever on defense. If the defense is forcing turnovers, then that means that the offense is turning the football over. Again, if you're a head coach, I don't know how you do it. Oh, $9 million a year, that's how you do it. But I want to hear about the defense forcing some turnovers. I want to hear about them, wrapping up and securing a tackle and ripping the football through. I want to hear about some guys in the secondary that are stepping in front of the pass and making a play, a good read, dig down to the ground and go and make a play on the football, win 50-50 balls in the defensive secondary. You take a turnover any way you can get it, don't get me wrong, but I would not like to hear Nico making the wrong read and throwing an interception right to a guy or throwing into double coverage. I want to hear about a defensive back making a play on the football and going and getting it. So number 3, defense forcing turnovers. Number 2, the offense needs to generate a run game. In spring, whenever Dylan Sampson was, a little bit limited or when Dylan Sampson wasn't in the game for scrimmages and you had to see what Khalifa Keith and Deshaun Bishop and didn't have Peyton Lewis back then, the run game, it feels like, struggled a little bit in spring behind Dylan Sampson. And I don't expect Dylan Sampson to get much playing time at all. In fact, I'll go over a list of guys who I don't think are going to scrimmage or will be very limited in scrimmages in segment number 2 when we get into players that need to step up. But you need to hear, I would love to hear about the offense finding a rhythm on the ground with Deshaun Bishop, with Khalifa Keith, with Peyton Lewis, the freshman, behind this offensive line. I would love to hear that the offense had a little bit of a pulse. The run game had a little bit of some relevancy in this scrimmage without some of the key contributors and, probably Sampson and, of course, Cam Seldon. So the offense would love to hear about having a run game. That's number 2. And the number 1, of course, is this is how it needs to be for any scrimmage, any practice, and it's not always logical because football is a contact sport, but I would love to come out of the scrimmage hearing that everybody was injury-free or no big catastrophes happened in the scrimmage in terms of friendly fire. Again, football is a contact sport. You cannot get ready for the season without, hitting and going through drills and doing all this type of stuff. Unfortunately, part of our game is there are injuries. But you would hate to have a significant injury to somebody, to anybody, much less someone who's going to contribute as a starter in the 2-deep or in the rotations because of a preseason scrimmage. And that's why I think some of these guys who are a little bit banged up right now won't even play tomorrow. And I'll get to that list here in a moment. But number 1, as it always should be, is get out of this scrimmage injury-free. So the top 5 things that I want to hear about from Josh Heupel or from sources after the scrimmage number 1 here later tonight. Number 5, red zone offensive success. Number 4, offense generates some explosive plays. Number 3, defense forces some turnovers. Number 2, offense finds a run game. And number 1, injury-free. Honorable mention would be no penalties, no penalties, no penalties. Operation is always something of key importance in the first scrimmage, and we'll see if Tennessee's offense is already ahead of the game in terms of operation with no silly penalties, false starts, all that type of stuff here in scrimmage number 1. Hey, when we come back, who are some players that they need to step up, and they need to step up in a big way? I'll tell you that when we return here on a Friday edition of Locked On Vols. Stay tuned. Want to see about our friends over at FanDuel Sportsbook? I love sports, okay? I love them so much, I never want them to stop, but as the playoffs are winding down, the Stanley Cup Finals, the NBA Finals, they're over with, we get fewer and fewer games. Right now, we're stuck with a lot of baseball here in the summer months, but football is right around the corner. The sports right now, though, aren't just sporting the way that I want them to, but FanDuel lets the sports continue to go whenever I want. All I have to do is open up an app and dream up big bets anytime that I'm in the mood. And this summer, to end summer here in the month of August, FanDuel's hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus every single day. That is a daily boost or a bonus. That's something for everyone, every time, all summer long. So do me a favor. Head on over to FanDuel.com. Start making the most of your summer. Did you know that FanDuel is America's #1 sports book? Did you know that FanDuel is the official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball? And did you know that you can make every moment more over at FanDuel Sportsbook? So, also want to tell you about a sponsor coming back to the show to get us ready for college football, and that is our friends over at Home Field Apparel. Home Field Apparel, the exclusive apparel sponsor of Locked On Vols. Football season is nearly here. We can almost smell it in the air, and if you're heading out to Neyland Stadium this fall, be sure to be decked out in style, courtesy of Home Field Apparel. With the Can't Miss Kickoff 2024 campaign, you can get football boxes, coaches jackets, bomber jackets, and so much more. Let me tell you about these football boxes over at Home Field Apparel. It contains 3 never-before-seen items for the University of Tennessee that are not available anywhere else. Curated so that fans can get new gear to wear all season long, suitable for all weather conditions. Okay, plus they've got the Platinum Box VIPs where you're going to receive additional exclusive items like a new hat or ringer for Platinum VIPs only, a VIP koozie. The 2024 Platinum Pass guarantees 20% off and early access to Tennessee's football releases throughout the 2024 campaign. No more missing out on Home Field because it is sold out. This deal is available starting today, August the 9th at 10 o'clock in the morning Eastern Time. Again, starting today, 10 o'clock Eastern Time, August the 9th. These will sell out, so don't miss out. Home Field is the premium collegiate apparel brand. It's based in Indianapolis. Their focus is on creating incredibly comfortable, officially licensed apparel with vintage college designs. I've got a slew of Home Field Apparel t-shirts that I'll wear around, Pride of the Southland, Marching Band, all, Beer Barrel, all that type of stuff is over at Home Field Apparel. There's a wide range of available colleges, 180 and growing for customers to choose from. So don't miss out today. Go ahead and check out those Platinum Box VIPs, the football boxes, and more. It is at homefieldapparel.com. Homefieldapparel.com to go ahead and get started today. All right, welcome back into Locked On Vols here on a Friday. Appreciate you guys making Locked On Vols your first listen, your first watch each and every single day. Top 5 Friday. In segment 1, we went over the top 5 things that we want to hear about from scrimmage number 1 here at Neyland Stadium later tonight. Now, here are 5 players that we need to hear about, that need to show up in scrimmage number 1 for one reason or another. And I cheated a little bit here. There's more than 5, but I kind of put them in groups, so bear with me here. Number 5, give me Jacoby Thomas. Jacoby Thomas, MTSU, stepping up. He's a veteran. He's got a lot of snaps under his belt, but none at this level. Of course, we talked about Jacoby Thomas a lot. There is a need at safety, whether it's John Slaughter or Jacoby Thomas, that's going to start opposites of Andre Turrentine. If neither one of those guys continue to grow this over the course of this fall camp, then expect to see a whole lot of Will Brooks, who the coaching staff definitely trusts. But what an opportunity for a guy like Jacoby Thomas to step up and show he can go out there and make some plays. He has a good grasp of the defense. Things are starting to slow down for him at this level. Great opportunity for maybe a Jacoby Thomas to step up and ball out here on a Friday night scrimmage number 1. So my number 1 player that I want to highlight is Jacoby Thomas. Kind of working in reverse orders. I guess that'd be number 5. Number 4, Chaz Nimrod. Chaz Nimrod is one of the bright spots of fall camp so far. I'm writing about him over at VolQuest.com this weekend. Kelsey Pope had a lot of great things to say about him on Thursday when he met with the media. He's been showing up. He made a really great catch in the back corner of the end zone when he took down the pylon and red zone passing from Nico Iamaleava on Thursday. But he's kind of transformed his body, and he's put in a whole lot of work this offseason. And when we talk about the wide receiver position, we talk about Brew McCoy, Squirrel White, Chris Brazzell, Dante Thornton, Mike Matthews, and we list all those guys before we even mention Chaz Nimrod and Caleb Webb. And I think Chaz Nimrod's a guy that will play. I don't think that he'll start, but I do think that he'll be in the rotation and play a lot because obviously he can also play on the outside as well as in the slot. Chaz Nimrod's had a great camp, and boy, if he can get out there and make some plays in the scrimmage tomorrow, I think he could really solidify himself as being in that wide receiver rotation to begin the year. Number 4, Chaz Nimrod. Number 3, here's one of those combos. Vyson Lang, William Satterwhite. We still don't know who the backup center is. Now, if the season were to start today, Dane Davis would come in and snap the ball. So I guess we do know. But Cooper Mays is gone next year. Dane Davis is gone next year. Ollie Lane, who snapped the football a little bit last year when Cooper was out, he's graduated. Jerome Carvin, who snapped the football a little bit back in 2021 when Cooper was out, he's graduated. Tennessee's kind of up against the wall here. You need to find a center of the future. You need to find a true backup center. Will that be Vyson Lang, or will that be William Satterwhite, or will that be somebody else, or will that be transfer portal? We don't know yet, but Vyson Lang and William Satterwhite are getting every opportunity to try to prove that they're the guy. What an opportunity it would be tomorrow when the second team offense goes in. I would assume it's probably William Satterwhite that would snap first, but maybe it's Vyson Lang. Those two guys, one of those guys needs to step up and prove like, hey, I can be that guy. So what an opportunity for them tomorrow or today, and I would love to hear that one of those guys took advantage of those opportunities. Number 2, another bracketed bracketed position, really, Deshaun Bishop / Peyton Lewis, running backs. I do not anticipate Dylan Sampson getting much work, if any, tonight in the scrimmage. Okay? So Cam Seldon's still in a red non-contact jersey. He's not going to go in the scrimmage. Okay? Tennessee needs to find a run game. Tennessee needs to find some depth, and Tennessee needs to find some confidence behind that of Dylan Sampson. Deshaun Bishop is, a local product. We know about what he did at Carnes High School. At least if you're in this area, you certainly know his name. Can he be a proven commodity to begin the season for Tennessee behind Dylan Sampson? What about Peyton Lewis? We know that he's a good-looking freshman, missed spring practice because he had an off-season procedure, so he's kind of getting caught up and kind of getting in the flow of things here this fall camp. What an opportunity for Peyton Lewis to do some things and maybe create some difference between he and some of these other guys, and being able to do that on a stage like a scrimmage against a pretty good front seven would be a really, really good opportunity for him. So kind of going back to segment number 1 when I said I want to hear about the offense finding some rhythm in the run game. For that to happen, obviously the offensive line, it's a team sport, but Deshaun Bishop and Peyton Lewis, one of those guys, if not both, need to have a good day. So I'd love to hear that one of those two guys had a pretty good day. And then number 1, it's got to be Boo Carter. It's got to be Boo Carter. He might have been number 1 even if Jordan Thomas wasn't injured for the season. But because Jordan Thomas, the projected starter at the star position, is injured and gone for the season, Tennessee needs to find a starter at the nickelback spot. Boo Carter is the best fit athletically, speed-wise, agility, all that and more. It's just, as a true freshman, is he ready for it? We'll have to find out. One key way to show, hey, I'm ready. Hey, put me in, coach. Hey, I can handle it. Is going out there and balling out. Not you're competing against these guys in 11-on-11 in practice all the time, but there's just a little bit something different. Little juice in the air. Neyland Stadium, the lights. It's a little bit different. It's kind of fans aren't in the stands. Don't get me wrong, but there's a little bit more juice here. Go out there and ball out, Boo Carter, and say, hey, I am ready. This is my time. And force the hand of Tim Banks and Willie Martinez to play a young guy. Number 1 is Boo Carter. So players that I'm looking out for, players to watch. Number 5, Jacoby Thomas. Number 4, Chaz Nimrod. Number 3, Vyson Lang / William Satterwhite. Number 2, Deshaun Bishop / Peyton Lewis. And number 1 is Boo Carter. Here's a list of players that I don't know for a fact are not going to play, but would not shock me whatsoever if these guys get no action tomorrow or tonight. You guys know I record this on Thursday for a Friday show. Would not shock me at all if they don't get any action because they're a little bit banged up right now, or they get very, very little action. Because at the end of the day, sure, you need to get some work, but you need to be healthy, okay? And a lot of these veterans especially, they don't necessarily, this isn't the most important thing for them like it is for a Boo Carter. Dylan Sampson would shock me if he gets any run tonight, no pun intended. He was off to the side at Thursday's practice. He was doing high knees. He was sprinting. I mean, he just wasn't going through individual. He looks to be fine, but again, I would be shocked if Dylan Sampson gets any run. Again, no pun intended in this scrimmage tonight. Caleb Webb had a red non-contact jersey on at practice on Thursday, so I'll be surprised if he gets anything. Thornton, Dante, Matthews, Mike, both of those wide receivers have been limited to begin spring practice, so we'll see if they get any action in the scrimmage. Andre Carrick and John Campbell have both been limited on the offensive line, so I'll be curious to see if those guys get any action at all tonight. Cam Seldon, of course, I don't expect him to because he's got a red non-contact jersey on. Jalen McMurray, Temple transfer cornerback, was had a red jersey on and wasn't doing much to begin fall camp, but in the last couple of practices, he's been out there doing everything. He ditched the red jersey. He's got a helmet on, so I would assume that he'll be ready to go, but maybe they'll slow play him a little bit. And then other guys in terms of veteran maintenance, I doubt Cooper Mays is going to get a ton of work. I doubt that Keenan Peely is going to get a ton of work because at the end of the day, it's more important for Vyson Lang and William Satterwhite to get some reps. It's more important for Jeremiah T. Lander and Jalen Smith and Caleb Perry and Edwin Spillman to get reps. along with Arian Carter outside of course, Keenan Peely. So those are some players that I want to hear about. I want to hear about positive reviews from these guys. Once we talk to Josh Heupel once the scrimmage is over here on a Friday night. Top 5 traditions. This is getting us set for Tennessee football. Top 5 traditions that we enjoy about Tennessee game days. That's coming up next, right here on Locked On Vols. Gametime is the place to buy your tickets to an event in your area. It could be a sporting event, could be a concert, could be a comedy show, could be whatever's happening in your area that you have to buy a ticket for. You can buy it on the Gametime app. And if you download the Gametime app, create an account, put in the promo code LOCKEDONCollege, you're going to get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Create that account, put in the promo code LOCKEDONCollege to get $20 off your first purchase. Last minute deals. You can save 60% off buying last minute for sports, concerts, comedy, theater in your area. Zone deals, flash deals, all in prices where the toggling this feature shows you the total up front with no hidden prices or surprise fees. You can get views of your seat, the lowest price guaranteed, and the Gametime ticket coverage where the purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Again, download the Gametime app, put in the promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your purchase. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, got a final segment left here of this Friday edition of Locked On Vols. We're talking about what we want to hear, what we want the reports to be back from Tennessee scrimmage number 1 of fall camp. They'll scrimmage tonight. They'll have an off day on Saturday. They'll come back and practice on Sunday, Monday, off day Tuesday. They'll practice Wednesday. They'll scrimmage Thursday. That's a little bit of the week ahead of the week coming up schedule, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Yeah, they're rolling on through fall camp and scrimmage number 1. It's a big milestone in fall camp, and so that we've been talking a lot about that here today with what we want to hear back, the players that need to step up. Now, kind of thinking about being over there at Neyland Stadium under the lights, it got me thinking like, hey, it's not going to be too long for when there's football to be played inside Neyland Stadium for the upcoming season. So what are some of my favorite traditions about football time in Tennessee? What are some of my favorite traditions about going to the General's house on Saturdays here in Tennessee? And I love some feedback as well. Here's how I would label them. And again, we're going to go in reverse order, 5 down to 1. Number 5, the Pride of the Southland Marching Band, the pregame show that they do every single home game, plus the circle drill. Pride of the Southland Marching Band, in my opinion, is second to none. One of the great traditions, one of the great staples of the University of Tennessee, and especially Tennessee football. Tennessee football, you can't think of Tennessee football a lot of the times, in my opinion, without thinking about the Pride of the Southland Marching Band, how they do their pregame drills, how they open up the tee for the players to run through. Second to none. So it's a tradition, right? Tradition's kind of a loose word, a loose phrase, but that's a tradition in my opinion, and that's the Pride of the Southland Marching Band. Number 4 is the Vol Walk, and every school you're starting to see kind of has their variation of Vol Walk. I'm not trying to say that the University of Tennessee created this tradition, but you're seeing it at different places. You see it at high school games around here in the area. Their way that they do this walk onto the stadium, and it's not right before kickoff or anything like that. For Tennessee, it's a couple hours before kickoff, but fans flood the streets, and they're up on perches, and they're trying to get the rooftops, and if they can't make it on the ground, they're trying to get to they can't make it to the scene there where they're going to walk through. They try to find some high ground so they can see it. It's incredible, and I love hearing players and coaches' accounts of the first time that they go through a true Vol Walk. It's awesome. I do a stand up in front of the stadium, around that time. It's right after the Vol Walk is over. Each game days to put up at volquest.com, kind of previewing the game, some last minute notes and information. We call it the 2-minute drill. But a lot of the fans are still kind of there from, coming and watching the Vol Walk. It's just, it's really, really cool to see. So one of my favorite traditions is the Vol Walk. Number 3 is General Neyland's game maxims. I love this. As a former football player, I heard these all the time. As a Tennessee fan growing up in East Tennessee, I heard these all the time. But for those of you that are unfamiliar, here are General Neyland's game maxims. Number 1, the team that makes the fewest mistakes win. Number 2, play for and make the breaks. When one comes your way, score. Number 3, if at first the game or the breaks go against you, don't let up. put on more steam. Number 4, protect our kickers, our quarterback, and lead in our ball game. Number 5, ball, Oski, cover, block, cut, slice, pursue, and game tackle. For this is the winning edge. Number 6, press the kicking game. Here is where the breaks are made. And number 7, carry the fight to our opponent and keep it there for 60 minutes. So many football coaches across this country, both the college realm, National Football League, high school, reference the 7 maxims of General Robert Neyland. I think it's so cool because, again, if you follow these 7, it's easier said than done, right? There's an opponent out there that are trying to not allow this to happen, right? You're trying to score. There's an opponent there trying to stop you. You're trying to stop an opponent who's trying to score. If you follow these 7 maxims, man, you are going to almost always win football games. And I love it because a lot of these have to do with heart, grit, determination, and want to. And sure, talent's a lot of things. Talent is so much things. That's why I try to go out and recruit 5-star talent. But so much of it is heart, dedication, want to, and just willingness, honestly, right? I mean, you've heard the old saying, I don't have it off the top of my head here, but it's like, you get a 5-star that won't work hard, take a 3-star that'll give you everything you got, and it might be a better football player on Saturdays. Ability's not great if ability, won't be coachable. And a lot of that has to do with these maxims here. I love these maxims. So number 3 is General Robert Neyland's game maxims. Robert Reese Neyland, game maxims. He established these when he was the head coach back in during his head coaching tenure from 1926 to 1952. Again, Coach Robert Neyland, the General. All right, number 2, the orange and white checkerboards. There's nothing like it anywhere else. Right? You've seen teams try to duplicate what Tennessee does. It's hilarious to see our rivals from the border state, from the north here, Kentucky. They try so hard to mimic the checkerboard things from the University of Tennessee. Even in baseball, they had a checkered little thing that the pitcher goes and steps on to get his wipe his cleats clean at their baseball stadium. They try so hard. It's the checkerboards. It's the orange and white. It's Tennessee. It's Tennessee. Come on. I love it. There's nothing like it. And getting to the stadium and seeing those checkerboard end zones, going to bowl game destinations and seeing those checkerboards painted, in Orlando or Miami or wherever. It's awesome. And number 1 is running through the tee. There is literally nothing like it. Running through the tee. It's in the new EA Sports College Football 25 game. Country music artists have sung about it. I've never run through the tee, obviously, but as a former football player and a guy who grew up in the state, in this area in East Tennessee, I can only imagine how cool it would be to run through the tee. So those are my top 5 traditions: the Pride of the Southland Marching Band, the Vol Walk, General Neyland's game maxims, the orange and white checkerboards, and running through the tee. I would love to hear what your game day traditions are, your favorite ones, at _Caner and at Locked On Vols, and at Locked On Vols on Instagram. Go follow that account as well. All right, guys, we'll see what's in store for Tennessee's first scrimmage of fall camp. We'll have news and some notes over on the General's Quarters at volquest.com. We'll recap and we'll tell you everything that we heard from over the weekend from the scrimmage and get you set for week number 3 of Tennessee fall camp. All that and more is coming up next week. Enjoy your weekend, everybody. Stay safe. This has been Locked On Vols.